Hi everyone, today we're going to be making a slow cooked beef ragu. Now I've never made this before, so it's my first time following this recipe, but I thought let's document the journey and hopefully it tastes good. So I will be making some fresh fettuccine egg pasta with it, hence the little pasta machine in the background, but we'll come to that later. For our ragu, most importantly we've got our beef chuck steak, so I've got about 1.2 kilos worth here, so it's going to make a nice yield based on the recipe that we've got. We've got 3 carrots, celery stick, whole onion, and we're going to use about 8 cloves of garlic because you can never use too much garlic when it comes to cooking. For our seasoning, we're going to use an Italian herb blend. So usually you would use some rosemary, sage, thyme, some fresh if you've got it. Fortunately, don't have too much of that in the garden, so we're going to use the Italian herb blend today. We're going to be using 2 of our bay leaves as well for our seasoning and our salt. Got salt and pepper. And then for the sauce aspect, we're going to be using a 810 gram can of crushed tomatoes. Some tomato paste, we've got 170 grams here, and then we're going to be using beef stock and olive oil. Now you can also incorporate red wine into the recipe. I'm going to substitute that with some more beef stock today, but you can use that as well. I will leave the recipe that I'm following in the link in the description. I'm going to be using our slow cooker today, so I'm going to be cooking it all up for about 5 to 6 hours. You can also choose a higher heat for 2 to 3 hours, but considering I'm making this for later tonight, I'm going to go with the 5 to 6 hour option.
So the first thing we're going to do is to dice our carrots, celery, onion and garlic, get them into nice, really thin pieces. Here I made them just a tiny bit too big, but that's okay. If you do make them a little bit bigger, not a problem. Next we're going to cut up our meat, so good sized chunks, nothing too big, nothing too small, getting rid of any excess fat as well as we go. We'll then pat dry our meat. This will help with our browning processes. The drier the better. Then we can season with salt and pepper to taste. Once our ingredients are all prepped and ready to go, we're going to turn our cooker on to high C, or if you're using a pot, just have a nice high heat. Add 2 tablespoons of olive oil, let it heat up, then we're going to add our meat. So here we're going to be doing in batches, just to ensure that we've got enough surface for the meat to brown. So we're going to cook for 3 to 4 minutes before flipping, and then cooking for 3 to 4 minutes again on the other side. You want the meat to be nice and browned, both sides. So as I said, we're going to repeat that as necessary with our different batches, just to make sure we get through all of it. Once we've browned all our meat, we're then going to take it off, put it aside, and we'll come back to that later. Our next step is to add in another tablespoon of olive oil, just to ensure we've got enough oil still to cook with. And here we're going to add in our carrots, celery, and onion, or as it can often be referred to as the sofrito, which is an Italian term for those ingredients combined together. Once they're in, we're going to stir occasionally, and we want to cook them until they're nice and browned, so that's going to take about 15 to 20 minutes. You do just want to make sure if they do start to brown too quickly, just to reduce your heat down to maybe a medium or medium low. Here with my cooker, I got to keep it on to a high temperature the whole time. After this time, we're going to add our garlic, cook that in, stirring constantly for about 1 to 2 minutes. We'll then add in our tomato paste. We're going to cook that for another 2 to 3 minutes. And make sure that that's nice and mixed through, combined with everything. Make sure there's no bits sticking to the bottom of the pan. Once that has browned, we're then going to add in either our red wine or our stock. In my case, I'm going to add stock. Just going to keep mixing. That's going to cook for about 4 to 5 minutes. We want to make sure it's mostly absorbed by the ingredients or the sofrito. After that 4 to 5 minutes, we're going to add in the rest of our seasoning. So here I'm adding my Italian herbs, I'm adding in my crushed tomatoes, the 2 bay leaves as well. I'm just going to give that a mix, and the rest of our stock, so that's 2 cups worth of stock. Give it a nice mix. Now we'll add our beef back in. So just put it back in, give it a stir, and then let the sauce come back to a bit of a boil before we lower the heat and put it on to our slow cook function. So in this case I was going for a 5 to 6 hour slow cook on low heat. The slow cooker, you could also do 2 to 3 hours on a higher heat, or if you're doing it on the stove you could go again 2.5 to 3 hours, making sure that we're stirring every now and then. Once our cooking is coming to an end, we can then remove our meat from our cooker. We're then going to pull it apart into bite-sized shreds. The meat should be nice and tender at this stage, so it should be nice and easy to just pull apart. And we're going to add it back into our sulgal and give it a mix, and remove any of the bay leaves as well. And if you have any other bits and pieces that you need to pull out, you can do that now as well. I then added a little bit more seasoning for taste.
Okay, so we're going to make our fresh pasta now. So for our fresh egg pasta, we're going to be using soft wheat flour type 00. It's one of the best ones you can use when you're making pasta. You can use your just all-purpose flour, but if you can get your hands on it, Woolworths do sell it, so get it from Woolies. Now the general rule is it's roughly 1 egg per person. I'm going to be making enough for say 3 people, or I like to eat a lot of pasta, so it's probably going to be enough for me for today and a little bit tomorrow. So I'm going to use 3 eggs, and it's 100 grams of flour per egg. So we're going to start by measuring out our flour. So open up our packet using our old school scale, making sure we get 100 grams per egg, so 300 total for this. A little bit too much, but that's perfectly fine. The pasta will kind of grab what it needs, so if it uses a bit more, a bit less, we can add. Now, the way my nonna taught me is to pass your flour through a sieve, so it gets nice and fine. So just do that here. You can add our pasta here, our flour in. Just get that nice and fine. Takes a moment. Okay, almost there. Now here's the fun part. So once we've done that, we are going to, with our flour, going to make a nice hole, not like a volcano, for our eggs to go into. So I'll just build that up. Okay, so we've made our nice well here for our eggs. So I'm just going to crack our eggs now, put that here in the middle. One-handed crack, just for the camera. Okay, showing that professional chef, not really, but anyway, it's good fun. All right, so that's our 3 eggs. So we're now going to beat our eggs in the middle. Okay. We've got one important step, and that's to add a pinch of salt. So I'm just going to get our salt grinder. Just going to add a little bit of salt into the mixture. Okay. Beautiful. So just mix that up. Now what we're going to do is we're going to start bringing in some of that flour from the edges into our egg mixture. See, it's starting to thicken up a little bit. And just keep pouring a bit more flour into our mixture.
So this is actually my first time making it by myself. I have made it with my nonna a few times, and mum once or twice as well. But it's good fun, and I was thinking, you know, what do I want for dinner tonight? I was thinking about this the other day, what I wanted to have for dinner. Thought, you know what, let's make a nice ragu. Let's make a nice fresh pasta to go along with it. The good thing with the fresh pasta is, yeah, it's a little bit, it's not too hard to make, and it's definitely worth it if you've got the time. So having a little bit of break at the moment, I definitely have the time. So I thought, why not? So we'll start pouring a bit more flour into this mixture. You see it's really starting to thicken up a little bit here now. It's almost time to start mixing with our hands. So it's looking good. I might just do that. Get rid of the fork. I'm going to start mixing with our hands. So we'll get a little bit messy, but that's okay. If you're not making a little bit of a mess in the kitchen, I don't think yet you're cooking properly. So start mixing that in. Now I did forget to mention the eggs we're using the jumbo size. You probably can use the large, but I like to use the jumbo size when making fresh pasta. Just ensures the consistency of the egg. So you can see here that our dough is starting to take shape. All those little bits and pieces. Like I said, the dough will grab what it needs from the flour, so there might be some flour left over, but it will grab as much as it needs. So we'll keep mixing that, kneading that in, make sure we get all those bits and pieces into our dough. We're going to knead this until it's nice, soft consistency. Turn that into a ball now. Alright. Nice dough ball. Piece of rag up here. Just gonna wrap that one up. And we're gonna let that one sit for 30 minutes. So I'll see you again in 30 minutes. Okay, so we've waited our 30 minutes, so our dough is now ready. So unwrap this. What I've done in the meantime is I've just prepped some baking paper sheets. That way it's just nice and easy for when we're actually putting our pasta down. So I've just started to lightly flour these, just so nothing sticks. Just spread that like so. Should be enough. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to just slightly flour this. I'm just going to work it just for about 30 seconds more. I know what you're thinking, you've been working it a long time. Yes, just going to slightly work it just a tiny bit. Okay, so we've got it back into our bowl. What we're going to do now is we're going to set our pasta machine onto the biggest setting, which is number 1, so that's the widest setting here. You can also do this with a rolling pin if you don't have a pasta machine. It's just going to take you probably a bit more effort than it does with the machine. But I'm going to use the machine here, so grab our knife, and we're just going to cut off sections. So we're just going to
work with a little bit at a time. Just cut out dough. This one might be just a bit too small, but that's okay. So we're going to slightly flour it as well. Keep that flour handy. Just so it doesn't get caught in the machine as well. Slightly flour that. Put that through. There we go. Beautiful. So what we're going to do is we're just going to fold that a little bit and then put it in the oven so we get a nice uniform pasta sheet. So we're going to pass that through on the largest setting about 3 times. So this one's turned out a little bit funky, but it's okay. Just pop that to the side. So I'm going to run that through for all of them now. There we go. We got our pasta sheets. So that's 3 times through that. So now we're going to start adjusting it to the thickness we want. So I'm probably going to go with a number 5 today. So I might just pass it through once on a 3. So it's definitely come out with a funny shape. So once through there, and now I'm going to pop it through number 5. So it's turned out very long. So some of these have turned out a little bit longer than others. So to make it more uniform, I'm just going to cut them. So I think this one might be in thirds. So pasta sheets. This one will go. So we'll have varying lengths of my pasta. That's okay. Beautiful. So while we're doing that, I'm going to start chucking my water onto boil. So I put my water onto boil. So now what we're going to do is, again, we're going to just slightly flour all of these. And we're now going to pass it through our fettuccine. Spread this around different spots. And there we have it. Fresh pasta.
Once your water has come to a boil, make sure that you do apply a generous amount of salt. I'm using rock salt here, it's just easier to use. You want to make sure your water is nice and salty. That will help bring out the flavour in your pasta and season it a little bit. Remember, no salt in the water is bad pasta. I also add a little bit of olive oil, that just helps the pasta stop from sticking together while we're doing it. So make sure you cook your pasta anywhere from 2 to 3 minutes, can be a little bit longer just depending on taste. It is important that you do just give it a mix every now and then. While your pasta is cooking, it's a good idea to get some of your sugo, put it into your bowl, ready to go. That way, once your pasta's done, you can just add it straight in. So here I am giving my pasta a little taste test at about the 3-minute mark, just to make sure it's how I like it. So it was a little al dente, which was good. You don't want your pasta to get soggy. Soggy pasta is no good. So once we're all done and cooked, just pull that out, add it into our sugo, give it a little mix, and we're ready to go. If you want, you can always add a little bit extra on top, which is what I usually like to do. The more sugo, the better.
So there we have it, our slow-cooked beef ragu with homemade fresh fettuccine pasta. I'm going to go enjoy that now, so I'll catch you all another time. Thanks for watching.